Welcome to Falls Count Anywhere, where the wrestling ring meets the heart. Hosted by the gentleman Jody Powell, join us as we dive into the latest pro wrestling news and rumors, from the electrifying world of WWE to the inspiring stories of wrestling for Christ. This is your all-access pass to the action, the faith, and the hope. This is Falls Count Anywhere.
Hello, wrestling fans, and welcome to Falls Count Anywhere. I am your host, the gentleman Jody Powell, and with me, as always, is the mad scientist, Mike Buchanan, deep in the Buchanan Laboratory. Mikey, how you doing, buddy?
Starting to warm up, unfortunately.
It's starting to warm up? That's my line, man. I'm in South Carolina. It's been like the tundra here.
Oh, dude, you told me you didn't receive any snow. What do you mean tundra?
Are you kidding? We got 5 inches of snow. That's a lot for South Carolina. That shuts everything down.
I missed that. I didn't think you had received any.
No, we got the snow, and the weekend before we had the ice, and it got up to like 48 degrees, and I started to go out in my swim trunks and tank top. It was a heat wave.
Absolutely. In Colorado, a million years ago, we were driving on either Christmas or Thanksgiving. Okay. Snow literally probably up to somebody's knee. But there's some yo-yo out trying to mow his freaking lawn in shorts and a wife beater.
Yeah, that sounds like a relative of mine. Anyway, what's going on in the lab, man? What you got over there?
Well, I don't know how many people know this, but Robert Kraft is very pro-Israel. Robert Kraft being the owner of the New England Patriots. So I am offering to him, I'm working on it right now, an inflation maintenance device. So he never has to worry in the Super Bowl about whether the balls are pumped up to the proper weight or not.
Well, you still have time because, as our fans know, the Super Bowl happened yesterday. However, we were recording this before the Super Bowl, and so we might even throw in a little super. Let's do some Super Bowl predictions real quick, man. I got the Pats 17-13.
I thought the Pats 27-17.
Oh, okay. A little higher scoring game, but of the same mindset. I tell you what I don't have, Mike.
Is a lot of respect for the WWE right now?
What's that?
I said a lot of respect for the WWE right now.
I haven't had that in a long time. I don't have a good Royal Rumble, man. Let's talk about it. I mean, the Royal Stumble itself is in the books, and of course we didn't get to talk about it last week because it happened after the recording of our show that aired last Monday night. So we're talking about it tonight. And I want to take a minute to let's talk about the Women's Royal Rumble. You know what? It was a standard safe match. And I'm okay with that. No big surprises because I don't count Brie Bella as a big surprise.
No. But you did call the winner.
I did call the winner.
So let's get that out of the way.
I called it. I mean, it didn't quite happen the way that I would have booked it, but Liv did eliminate Chai Rajaguiz. I love that. Yeah, she did, and dumped out Chai over the top rope.
Bliss too.
We've got a little bit of. Here's the thing. You want to know who I think is the big loser in that match? Charlotte Flair went in and probably went from first and lasted a good 48, 50 minutes. Nobody's talking about it.
No, I saw one blurb. Charlotte Flair actually was in the ring longer than the entirety of the Men's Royal Rumble.
Listen, I don't doubt that. But nobody's mentioned it. Nobody's talking about Charlotte. She was just kind of eliminated and erased from our memories. Lash Legend had a big Royal Rumble, made her look like a beast. Yeah, I mean, this is Jade Cargill 2.0. I'm not all that impressed. I think we're headed for Charlotte Flair and Alexa Bliss at WrestleMania. that should be fine. At least they're getting out of the tag team division so they can make their way back into the main event picture. But
Yeah.
yes, Triple Paul was listening. He took my booking advice, the way that he booked Liv and Raquel. Mwah. Perfect. Perfect. Now we'll get to Monday Night Raw because then he turned around and ruined it. We'll get there. Hey, Drew McIntyre retained, man.
Thank goodness.
I don't think either one of us are big Sami Zayn fans. It was good to see Drew retain from a wrestling perspective. Drew McIntyre needs a long title reign.
Yes.
I think he needs to win at WrestleMania, whoever he's going to face. He's probably going to end up in a triple threat match with Cody Rhodes
and
yeah, Jacob Achu, bless you. And once that happens, I still think Drew needs to come out on top. I think he needs to carry that title into SummerSlam.
at least.
At least. We need a long reign from Drew McIntyre. I think, again, I've said all along, he was the most underutilized talent on the roster. I've got a new person for that now, but we'll get to that too. What an awful men's Royal Rumble. What an awful start to finish. It was awful. Now, when I say start to finish, I'm not talking about Braun Breaker. I'm okay with the way they did that. I was surprised.
Stop.
No. I was. Now, let me tell you why, because I know you're not. I was okay with it because it was a surprise, because it sets up a great storyline that could be truly built between now and WrestleMania, between he and Adam Pearce and this masked individual. I'm not a big fan of another masked individual, but it at least surprised the unsurprisable fan base. With the internet and everything now, everything is so out there, it's hard to surprise the fan base. And I was genuinely surprised. I remember texting you, it was like, oh my goodness, you're never going to believe what happened. And I liked it, and it made sense, and it felt like somebody actually put some thought into it, and I'm okay with it. What I didn't like was Obafemi being like the monster taking out 5, 6, 7 guys right in the beginning. That's what I'm talking about from beginning to end.
Well, thing with Obafemi is they built him up, and I don't know if we'll talk about what he did on Raw, but it might be too much too soon. The reason that the Royal Stumble, as you so correctly called it, sucked was because once Roman Reigns hit the ring, you knew he was going to be your winner.
You know, I had a little bit of a question mark when Gunther came out 30. I thought maybe they're going to give it to Gunther. Maybe they're like going to really push him over the edge because they're pushing him as hard as they pushed Roman Reigns 5 years ago. And they're shoving him down our throats. Now, the difference is I think Gunther is the heel, maybe not that we want, but the heel we need. We need a heel that elicits genuine disdain and hatred. That's what a heel's supposed to do. He generates genuine heat. Not a lot of people like him. That's what a heel's supposed to be. It's not supposed to be the Stone Cold Steve Austin heel where everybody's cheering for him and pulling against the other guy. No, this guy is a true heel at nature. Nobody likes Gunther. Nobody likes how they're giving him these opportunities to retire guys. AJ Styles, his latest victim. Here's something interesting, Mike.
What's up, bud?
John Cena tapped. AJ Styles passed out. Interesting that those two ended that way. And it goes to my contention that John Cena is not the GOAT. I know, hot take. Everybody thinks John Cena is the GOAT. Oh, how can you say he's not the GOAT? He's not the GOAT. He's not the GOAT. I would argue that AJ Styles had a better career than John Cena, even though he didn't have as many world title reigns. You can't judge a career by world titles alone. I think AJ Styles had a better career. So many people forget that AJ Styles was The Undertaker's last WrestleMania opponent during COVID. That overly directed Hollywood graveyard match at some movie set somewhere. But still, that's an accolade for AJ Styles that John Cena would never have. it's my opinion. I just think AJ Styles was a much better performer, much better wrestler, a much better entertainer than John Cena. I'm not a big Cena guy, but we're getting down a rabbit hole. Let's get back to Roman noodles. So yes, I have a huge problem with it. I have a huge problem with him winning, Mr. Part Timer. And I've said it before, and I'll say it again. No one that works from January to May comes back for SummerSlam to Survivor Series and then takes the rest of the time off deserves to win anything. He doesn't. He's a part-timer. He is just as bad as Brock Lesnar was when Brock Lesnar was the world champion and only appearing once every 3 months.
I've got a hot take for you. Just our viewers know how I feel about this individual. I would have rather seen Jay Soso eliminate Ramen Noodles, and then they can have a match at WrestleMania.
Yeah. Let me ask you this. Would you rather? Let's play a quick game of Would You Rather.
Okay.
Roman Reigns or Rey Mysterio Jr.?
You have snow brain. That's why I used to have in Colorado. Your brain is not thinking clearly.
Oh, come on, man. Give me an answer. Who would you rather win the Royal Rumble?
Would you rather step in horse dung or cow dung?
That's a fair question. Which one?
I asked you. I answered your question with a question.
Fair enough.
WrestleMania, they're heading towards the Elimination Chamber here too shortly.
Yeah, so apparently tonight we're going to get some qualifying matches. I got to hit on Raw from last week though.
Okay.
Because we're running into Raw this week. A couple of things that I did not like. First of all, let me go back to the Men's Royal Rumble. La Parka and Mr. Iguana. Are you kidding me? We didn't get Carmelo Hayes. We didn't get Finn Balor, but we got La Parka, who I thought actually legitimately died. I think the guy that was La Parka in WCW did actually die. Yeah, I guess the character lives on. Yeah, I'm giving a thumbs up. I don't know why. Okay. Thanks, Zoom. But yeah, so La Parka and Mr. Iguana, but no Carmelo, no Finn Balor. Give me a break.
No Jericho, no Edge if they're coming.
I don't think either of them are coming at this point. I just don't believe it anymore. And that's fine. If it didn't work out, it didn't work out. But don't give me iguanas. Don't give me some green mask guy that's got a stuffed animal in his mouth. Give me somebody from NXT. We didn't see a single NXT star in the Men's Royal Rumble.
No Joe Hendry or anybody.
Nothing like that. So just a bomb, just a royal stumble. But the Raw following, here's where I have a problem. As much as they booked the Women's Royal Rumble perfectly, they totally ruined it on Monday Night Raw because Liv Morgan introduces her best friend, Raquel Rodriguez, to come out to get ready for her world title match. And Raquel comes out and all she says was, "Why did you eliminate me from the Royal Rumble?" Liv Morgan gives her some crazy excuse about how a win for the Judgment Day is a win for everybody. And she's like, "Oh, okay." Oh, give me a break. Give me a break. What a horrible. Now, I know we're still on the path for a Raquel versus Liv match. And whether it'll be for a title or not, we'll have to see. And we'll talk about that real quick. But that reaction, horrible. Everything that they did right for the Women's Royal Rumble, they ruined on Monday Night Raw. I mean, Raquel Rodriguez should have been angry. She should have attacked Liv. They at least should have gotten into an argument in a shoving match. Not like, "Oh, okay, but stay in the back while I have my match because I want to win it on my own." Oh, give me a break. That was horrible. It was terrible. And then the Roman CM Punk promo was good. It was good. It was a great. You got to admit, it was a great promo. You got to take the people out of it. The promo itself was good. It set the road for their match. There was a lot of back and forth. There was a lot of personal shoots in that, as you would expect from CM Punk. So I thought the promo was good. But those two should never have been in that position in the first place. Roman Reigns should not be your winner of the Royal Rumble. I've covered this. I've said this. I've said it now far too often. Let's talk about Elimination Chamber. You had some ideas.
I did. Adam Pearce is flapping his lips, walking around. I can do this to Braun Breaker, and I can do this to Paul Heyman. Well, take it from an expert, Mr. Pierce. If you really want to do something to Heyman, what you do in your Elimination Chamber qualifying matches, you just set up Bronson Reed and Braun Breaker. Only one per belt. And you set up Austin Theory and Logan Paul. Only one of those can go. Shoot Heyman.
Not a bad idea, man. Paul Heyman would FAFO, fool around and find out.
Yeah.
Right? That's what that stands for, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what it is in my mind. So that's an interesting thought. But Elimination Chamber itself, I'm still confused on. I mean, who's competing and what are they competing for? Is this going to be a world title? Is CM Punk or Drew McIntyre going to be in this? Is this for an opportunity to face Drew McIntyre at WrestleMania? Because if it is, that just means Cody Rhodes is going to win it. That's all that means.
Late breaking caps from Boudreaux.
Boudreaux! What does Boudreaux have to say?
Boudreaux says the Elimination Chamber is for, are you ready for this? Participation trophies.
The participation world title of the WWE. Maybe let's bring back the 24/7 title.
Oh, that was cool.
I thought so too. I loved it. Real quickly, Masked Man. I don't care who he is. I don't care who he is because we kind of shot our shot here with the Masked Man, and it was underwhelming Austin Theory. But I'll venture a couple of guesses. It does not need to be Seth Rollins. It does not need to be Seth Rollins. It's too obvious. It also does not need to be Austin Theory. Although I think it may be. Well, I think that may be the direction they go. But again, too obvious. I've got two names for you that it could be. Finn Balor.
Oh, sorry. Finn Balor.
Finn Balor and Logan Paul. Logan Paul would be an interesting one. That would be interesting. All of this bravado of we're going to let Braun win it and blah, blah, blah. Are you? Go ahead.
If you break away from Rollins or Theory, then you start getting into Black Scorpion territory.
Maybe, but let me say this. When I say that it could be Finn or Logan, I don't want it to be Finn. Finn, because ultimately the person under the mask needs to be someone working with Seth Rollins. It doesn't need to be Seth. It needs to be someone working for Seth. That could be Austin Theory. It could be Logan Paul. It should not be Finn Balor. Finn Balor does not need to go from the Judgment Day to another faction. Finn Balor needs to break away from the Judgment Day and get the push that he deserves. Because I mentioned it earlier, there is a new, most underutilized talent on the roster. Now that Drew McIntyre is utilized and the world champion, we have a new one. And his name is Finn Balor. Got to do something with him.
Speaking of having to do something with it, I think we have to go to a break before we come back to our favorite part of the show.
That's right, man. Love is in the air. Because Fighting Tomorrow is going to be the conclusion of our 3-part series on love, since Valentine's Day is coming up. Fans, stay tuned for that. We'll be back with our favorite part of the show, Fighting Tomorrow, right after this. Hello, wrestling fans. The gentleman Jody Powell here, and I want you to go to Instagram, and I want you to follow me, Gentleman Jody Powell. We're going to get backstage exclusive video of WFC, of Falls Count Anywhere. We're going to talk about the WWE. We're going to hear from WFC superstars. We're going to talk about Finding Tomorrow. We're going to go live I don't even know what that means, but we're going to do it all on Instagram. Come down, follow me, Gentleman Jody Powell. You'll be glad you did.
Welcome back, viewers, to our favorite time of the episode, Finding Tomorrow. Now, Jody, our viewers may know, if they've been following along with us, that we've been doing a three-part After Tonight series on love, because this is going to air, I believe it is 5 days before Valentine's Day. And we want to put everybody's head and heart in the right place. Plus, I don't know about the rest of men, but sometimes I forget about Valentine's Day, and I don't want anybody to be in that position. But to recap briefly, we started out about what love was. We went through the famous love chapter. Love is patient. Love is kind. Love isn't looking out for itself and all this. And then last week, we talked about women respecting their husbands and how that can be hard, but it's very needed for men because they need respect. Sometimes, to be frank, they don't deserve it, but women should respect them anyway. Within parameters,
Sure.
right?
Sure. There's always exceptions to that, right?
For sure. But now as we jump into this part 3 of our final and part 3 of our little 3-part series, Jody, do you want to start by reading Ephesians 5:21 through 25?
Sure, brother. Let's hear what the Lord has to say here in Ephesians. Submit to one another out of reverence for Christ. Wives, submit yourselves to your own husbands as you do to the Lord. For the husband is the head of the wife, as Christ is the head of the church, his body, of which he is the Savior. Now, as the church submits to Christ, so also wives should submit to their husbands in everything. Husbands, love your wives, just as Christ loved the church and gave himself up for her.
Thoughts, Jody? I know you always have thoughts about something.
I have thoughts, man. Here's the thing. I think a lot of women will hear those verses and be offended. And I think it's because it's taken out of context.
Mm-hmm.
So when you hear wives submit to your husbands, a lot of people stop right there and say, whoa, wait a minute. But the verse doesn't stop there. It says, wives, submit yourselves to your own husband as you do to the Lord, for the husband is the head of the wife, as Christ is the head of the church. Now, I want you to think about that part of it. Christ being the head of the church. Now, tell me a time when Jesus Christ has come up and said, we're going to do this, and you're going to like it, and even if you don't like it, you're going to do it anyway. That's not the attitude that Christ comes into his church and into his kingdom with, right? And so, submitting to your husband is not giving something up. It's honoring the gift that you've been given by God. And now a lot of wives will say, well, I got shafted on that gift. If this is what God's given me, well, maybe you did, but maybe you didn't. Because at the end of the day, the way that Christ is such a servant leader of the church, a servant leader for us, his church, the church body, that is the way that husbands should view having their wives submit to them. We as husbands should absolutely serve our wives as Christ serves the church. I love the metaphor of marriage, the marriage relationship, and our relationship with Jesus Christ. The Bible uses it dozens of times as a metaphor to describe the relationship we have with Jesus Christ. And I said it last week. Marriage has absolutely nothing to do with you and everything to do with her. Well, you know what? Your relationship with Jesus Christ has absolutely nothing to do with you and everything to do with Jesus Christ. And so if we approach it in that manner, then wives who have husbands that approach it that way should absolutely be more than willing and happy to submit to their husbands. That doesn't mean they're inferior. That doesn't mean they don't have a say. That doesn't mean that they were taken from from Adam's spine and not his rib. You're still the partner. You still have a voice. But what it means is that the husband receives the respect that, as you said earlier, Mike, men need. It's being a servant back.
Speaking of that, I've been talking about love, reading about love, hearing about love for going on close to 50 years right now, but I don't think I've ever heard it this way. There's a gentleman, I believe his name is Larry Smalley, wrote a book called the Five Love Languages.
Right.
So, men and ladies, let me posit this to you. What if your husband's love language is actually respect?
A lot of them are.
You know, um, and by all means, hear this if you don't hear anything else outside of the fact that Jesus loves you. We are not saying to stay in a dangerous position.
No.
I would challenge anybody in a lot of different ways to show me somewhere in the Bible where it says Jesus said, if your husband's abusing you, stay there. No.
No. No.
But on the other hand, as far as the respect goes, right? I did something on Facebook several years back because I had seen men on Facebook talking about, well, I have to do this. I have to mow the lawn, and I have to watch the kids or pick up the kids from practice, or I have to pick out the trash. And in my piece, I wrote, no, you don't have to. You get to.
Mm-hmm.
You have a woman that hopefully loves you very much and that you love very much. And as you were talking about that, and I loved it, that Jesus is servant leader, you're able to serve her.
Yeah.
You take care of her needs.
Right.
For the women, keep in mind, and this may not come across the way I want it to, so I'm going to apologize up front, and Jody, you'll clean it up if I screw up too bad.
Okay.
When God needed a helpmeet for man, it wasn't a collie, it wasn't a German shepherd, man's best friend, quote unquote. When God needed to complete man, he provided woman.
Mm-hmm.
They were equals in the garden. There's nothing that I can find that says they were equals that they were not equals in the garden, I should say.
Right.
And that's ideally how it should be. Men, you want respect? Love your wives.
Yeah.
Wives, I know that even if they're not abusive, sometimes it's hard to respect your husband. Maybe he spends too much time watching football. Maybe he's a little bit lazy or a lot lazy, and it's hard to respect. Show him Christ's love by respecting him anyway.
Mikey, let me ask you something.
Yeah.
The disciples, were they flawed?
Disciples?
The 12 disciples, were they flawed?
No.
Of course they were. You don't have to look far to find the flaws in the disciples. Let me ask you something else. What happened at the Last Supper? Was it the disciples that washed the feet of Jesus?
No, Jesus washed the feet of the disciples. Whenever I let you in, I don't know if even you've heard this, Jody. There's a gentleman named Ray Vander Laan, and I want to hurry this up, who did a series on that the world may know, but it showed scripture, all the New Testament, in light of actual Jewish custom of the time. That's just an introduction to say whenever I proposed to Darlene, I actually did it after I washed her feet. Wow. Doesn't make me any kind of super spiritual person or anything else. It's just that that's kind of a standard you want to set. And men, hear this. Whether we like it or don't like it, as Nate used to say, there are people watching you. And I ain't talking about your boss or your neighbor. I'm talking about little Buffy or little Stippy just trying to figure out how to treat a woman and how should a woman be treated.
Yeah.
God knows in this day and age, with all the crap running around, If we don't teach him, Jody, there are alternative methods to teaching.
Oh, the world will teach them what the world wants them to know.
Hey, speaking of what were you about to say? I think I cut you off.
No, you didn't. I think I was going to say the same thing you were. Speaking of the world, what the world wants to know, the world wants to know that what's coming up next. Well, it's The Clash with Jeff Dixon, Chris Whaley, right here on Abundant TV.